joining us on the broadcast. Major Mohammed Ali Shah. Thank you so much, Major Shah, for being with us. If I can just ask you, sir, and I've just asked Major General Sivach also this very question. US has now decided to impose some sort of restricted sanctions on Russia in the aftermath of Putin's speech, Putin's address. Sir, from where you see it, do you think that it is likely that, Germany, France, having conversations with the United States are possibly going to back the US as far as these sanctions are concerned? Do you think that we can expect that to happen? Because, of course, military build-up or US sending boots on the ground as far as, Ukraine borders are concerned. What do you see happening, sir?
Absolutely. I think US will get the backing because at the end of the day, Russia is not backing down. And in fact, even Mr. Macron, the French president, the France president, has spoken to him. And in fact, they said that if he does not really, if he behaves himself, then they will, if he does not behave, then they will impose sanctions. In fact, UK also is imposing sanctions for that matter. So, and Russia is taking claim of certain regions, which is not really accepted by many of the countries. So most certainly they will get support, and US will get the support from other countries as well.
All right, let's also talk about the Indian perspective then. Let's talk about where India stands. Let's talk about what we need to do.
Thanks to outstanding sons of India like General Saab and Major Saab, India is the big player in the Indian Ocean.
Own assessment is that for Russia, the geopolitical and the strategic considerations will outweigh the economic consequences and the losses, and they are not going to be much affected by the sanctions in that sense.
All right, stay on with us, Ambassador Goyal. We also have Major Mohammed Ali Shah joining us on the broadcast. Thank you so much, Major, for being with us. If I can just, now take a response from you on Russia's statement. Now, the United Nations Security Council meet, of course, is underway. Russia has said that it is open to diplomatic solutions, but it won't allow a bloodbath in the Donbass area. And they've in fact said that we are focused to note the negative role played by our Western colleagues led by the United States. Sir, how do you think that the West is going to be responding now that Russia has made it utterly clear that, it is going to go on and do as it pleases? It's going to recognize separatist regions. It's going to do things that it can to maneuver certain regions that are a part of Ukraine.
Well, as Ambassador Goyal rightly brought out that, along with US, the other countries in the West, their allies, their European partners, they will all join in together. And yes, already UK is already imposing sanctions on Russia. So, and in fact, the French President, Mr. Macron, in fact, his involvement is, I think, it plays a key role as well. And both France and Germany, for that matter, they are again playing a key role. And yes, Indian ambassador to the UN, the permanent envoy, the permanent member of the UN, Mr. T.S. Trimurti, has very correctly brought out that, we have over 20,000 students living in Ukraine, even including on the borders, and their safety is of utmost importance. So yes, when we talk about peace, the entire world unites, and everybody wants peace. Who wants war at the end of the day? Who wants that bloodbath and bloodshed and, that violence? Nobody. So yes, most certainly how the West is going to respond to it, the West, no one is going to like that kind of an attitude coming in from Russia at the moment. So yes, there would be a lot of opposition, a lot of pressure on Russia as well at the same time. But having said that, I don't think ultimately, because this is all a hybrid warfare where you will actually bring the enemy down to his knees without firing a single bullet. So it's all hybrid warfare, and ultimately I think Vladimir Putin should actually, if he has, which he should be coming on and is coming to the pressure which the entire world community would be exerting on him, in fact.
All right, Major Mohammed Ali Shah, if we also talk about the reasons as to why Russia should probably not invade. Of course, you said that, it would be bloody, it would be a bloodbath. But there are also other reasons, sir. For instance, whether or not it's going to be popular back home. Is it going to be popular in Russia? Is he going to face the heat for such sort of an invasion? What do you think are the main reasons why Russia could possibly back down at this point and not take further military action? And, this could all possibly just fizzle out and be some sort of a show of strength on part of Russia?
Okay, very good question. I would like to answer this question for 4 reasons primarily that I see it as. First reason, under the Article 5 of the NATO Act, which says if there is an armed attack against any of the NATO allies, all the NATO nations, the 29 members of the NATO NATO member countries, which is headed by the ex-president of Libya. So he has already expressed his displeasure on it. So already the entire NATO alliance will unite and take any action as they deem fit. It can be a peaceful action as well. It can be leading to sanctions. It can be launching an armed attack. It can be anything as they deem fit. First. Second, the reason being because the world economy at the moment is suffering. And we need to uplift the economy, not make it go down further in decades. And the coronavirus situation is there. It's a terrible situation. Thirdly, if you see it militarily in a strategic way, in a very tactful way. See, I'll take you back in the mid-60s, where Field Marshal Sam Manekshaw was the Chief of the Army Staff of India. And he was asked by the Prime Minister then, Indira Gandhi, is India ready for an attack on China? He said, no, it's the wrong time, because the snow over there in the high altitude areas is melting. And our troops are not acclimatized properly right now to go in for the attack. Same logic I will give over here. See, if you see the Ukraine-Russia border, the snow over there is actually melting. And though they have marked those red figures on their armored tanks and their vehicles and such things, but you know, that doesn't really mean anything at the end of the day. It's only to avoid friendly fire so that they can be distinguished, so that their own countries do not, because if you see, Russia and Ukraine have a lot of similarities. In fact, Mikhail Gorbachev, the erstwhile president,
yes.
That's right. His mother was a Ukrainian actually. And so there is a lot of similarity, and including in there, like, say there are two different countries, say, I'll give you an example of India and Pakistan. You can easily make out the difference in the uniform, the vehicles and the make and everything. But here it is very, very similar. So now when the snow is melting, it's very, very difficult for the armored vehicles, for them to maneuver, the tanks to maneuver in that terrain. So militarily, that could be another reason. So now, at the end of the day, ultimately it's a hybrid warfare. Vladimir Putin would not be, in fact, he will not be foolhardy to go in for invasion. But yes, all this, they say prevention is better than cure. But we cannot take a chance having said that, because the signs are pretty bad. The signs are pretty bad. The signs are, in fact, very, very dangerous. And we've already, in fact, due to the Russian extremist invasion, I mean, they fired mortar shelling they did on the border, and the Ukraine also lost 2 of its soldiers. In fact, many of the people have gone underground, because in 2014, when Russia attacked Crimea, at that time they had formed underground trenches, bunkers and accommodation like that. So there are people actually living in, and nobody wants to live in that terror. That you don't know what happened. They want to have a very good future. They don't know what will happen to them by evening. They are living with their children, with their wives, with their families, underground. They've all gone in the basement. Because logically speaking, when there is a shelling that takes place, it can harm a building, it can collapse. But the moment the shelling takes place underground, you are well protected. And that's exactly what's happening. So I don't really see that ultimately, hopefully that, Vladimir Putin will go ahead for this attack.
All right. Major Shah, the key takeaway, United States is calling Russia out, saying that, all right, you want to recognize these 2 regions. You're saying that you want to be sending peacekeeping missions. But this is all nonsense. We know what this really is. Should the world be worried at this point that Russia has recognized the so-called separatist states that fall under the Donbass region? Does this, serve as an eerie reminder of what happened in Crimea?
Most certainly, it's a matter of grave concern. There's no doubt about it that Russia recognizing these 2 regions and saying they would be sending out their peacekeeping forces. And this has, in fact, escalated tensions there. No one is really appreciating it, and it has escalated tension, so it certainly is a matter of worry. Now, let me tell you about these peacekeeping forces that they would be sending as well. What a peacekeeping force would mean. Like in the mid-80s, India had sent a peacekeeping force to Sri Lanka. That's the IPKF, Indian Peacekeeping Force. We have sent peacekeeping missions to UN as well. But despite that, these are peacekeeping missions. When I was deployed in the Northeast, our job was to maintain peace over there. But while maintaining peace, let me tell you, we have a price to pay as well. It's not just keeping peace means, oh, everything is hunky-dory. No. peace means they would be, you would be confronted upon by bullets, by violence. There would be bloodshed. There would be armed rebellion. There would be tensions escalating. So it is certainly, it sounds on paper that, oh, Russia would send in peacekeeping forces over there. But it's not that simple as it sounds. And as you rightly said, that people are saying, oh, it's all bunkum. It's all that, they're just all hogwash, all talk. Well, it's not just hogwash. It is the very word a military person would be able to understand. The moment they say, okay, they will send their peacekeeping missions over there, which means they are heading for some kind of bloodshed, some kind of violence. It's not just peace that, peace will prevail or let's give peace a chance. No, it's much more to that. Now, having said that, Russia is also going to buy the dust by a lot of countries. A lot of countries are going to give a flag to Russia, which I'm sure Mr. Vladimir Putin is very well prepared of. But at the end of the day, they say that whatever जो गरजते हैं वो बरसते नहीं, जो बरसते हैं वो गरजते नहीं. So at the end of the day, yes, Russia has flexed its all muscles, have put its all might, but if they really wanted to invade into Ukraine, into Kiev for that matter, they could have done it way back in 2014 when Russia had invaded Crimea. Or for that matter, when the Ukrainian president had put up a video on Facebook that 16th February would be the date that they would get in and they would attack Ukraine. They didn't do that. Well, the US had also estimated by 20th February when the Beijing Olympic Games would get over. That's the time before that Russia would invade into Ukraine. But it didn't happen. Today is 22nd and it hasn't happened so far. But yes, Russia taking identifying these two states, these two places is a matter of grave concern, which is going to, right now, it's just a start, which could escalate the tensions much further. And yes, we have our students in Ukraine. We have, in fact, there are a lot of students from all over the world. Why only India? They are there in Ukraine because it is an education hub in a way. So it is a matter of grave concern for the entire world community as such.
All right. Thank you so much, Major Mohammed Ali Shah, for joining us on the broadcast this morning.
But as far as the full-fledged war is concerned, I think I completely agree with Major Shah that I think a full-fledged war is not possible.
Also have Major Mohammed Ali Shah, who's still with us on the broadcast. Major Shah, now we've obviously talked about the Minsk agreement. We've talked about the economic sanctions that US as well as its allies are likely to put on Russia. But sir, what we must also talk about is what Russia says. Now, according to Russia, the biggest problem right now is the fact that the West continues to be amassing troops and sending some sort of reinforcements to Ukraine. Do you think that, if at all the West puts a stop to it, it could work in Ukraine and it could work in Ukraine's favor and get Russia to back down? Or do you think that it's only going to bolster Russia if at all the troops and the support, the military support, is withdrawn?
Oh, wait, I heard Group Captain Shah speak very, very clearly about the Minsk agreement. He said, yes, Russia is justified and legally on paper, as per formality officially, yes, they are justified in their actions, yes. But at the same time, I would like to quote Leo Tolstoy's novel War and Peace from chapter 3, paragraph 2, line 2. Leo Tolstoy says, being peaceful is better than being right. So, peace is something which we all want. We all want to live in peace. Be it Russia, be it despite whatever the provocation could be. If someone is dragging the feet for the last 7-8 years, okay, fine. Ultimately, it should be peace which should prevail. Now, let me tell you, the Japan's Prime Minister, he has also hit Russia on its knuckles by saying, Mr. Fumio, he has said that, we will impose all sanctions. We will see how can they actually look into 2 different places from Ukraine and give them independent and declare them as independent states. No, ultimately it is not the time of 1991 when USSR was one. It is now integrated and it is all disintegrated, rather I would say this much. And yes, India has stepped up its operations. Air India 1946, which would be going on into Ukraine on 22nd, 24th, 26th, and they would be more speedy. Why is the whole international community going against Russia if everyone understands the Minsk agreement? They are simply because at the end of the day, no matter what, it's like, I'll give you an analogy. If you say, oh, he provoked me so badly and that is why I went and, ultimately I went and murdered him in self-defense. Ultimately it's a murder, right? Ultimately it's a bloodbath. ultimately it's like shedding your hand in blood, and nobody wants that. Be it witness, be it a person involved, nobody wants that. So that is the whole bottom line why the entire international community is trying to persuade Russia not to go ahead with it, which is again unlikely. Actually, this is all a tactic of hybrid warfare, and Russia's close friend is China, let me tell you. And China is an expert at doing psychological warfare. So I'm not just saying that it's only a psychological warfare, but then there's no other way. Like if supposing you're twisting somebody's arm and the person is not listening to you, so you twist it further and further and further and further until the person says, okay, leave, it's breaking. So that's exactly what Russia is doing at this moment. And yes, we all hope for the peace to prevail, irrespective of the Minsk agreement, irrespective of, now two wrongs don't make a right. If Russia has gone ahead and given and recognize those two places as independent, well, the further reaction to it would further escalate tensions. Now, best way is to let's wait and watch, and ultimately I don't think Vladimir Putin will go in and invade into Russia. But yes, having said that, in 2014 when Russia had invaded Crimea, it was a golden chance for them. Even if Group Captain Shah says that it cannot be compared, those two, yes, it cannot be, but then it was a right moment for Russia to actually go in and invade Ukraine, which they did not. It was the right moment for Russia when the Ukraine president Vladimir Zelensky had put up a video on Facebook that 16th February the date, right moment for Russia to have actually gone and invaded Ukraine. They did not. It was, rather, the irony is they started withdrawing their troops from 16th February afternoon, evening. It was a de-escalation that took place. Then thereafter, a day or two later, the escalation again happened. So the situation here is tensed. It is the whole world is keeping the eye, but ultimately, at the long run, who benefits from it? The attention is diverted all towards Russia, Ukraine. The main the person who's benefiting, the main nation who is going to be benefiting, where the attention is detract, is China, where the real evil is actually.
All right. Thank you so much, Major Mohammed Ali Shah, for that analysis.